Mumbai has seen many high-profile drunk driving cases, but justice has clearly not always been served. In the latest case, a senior employee of Reliance rammed her Audi into a taxi, killing 2 people. She was drunk and driving on the wrong side of the freeway. For the families of the 2 men who've died, it has been heartbreaking in more ways than one. From the death of the sole breadwinner of his family to utter callousness by the city, which didn't come forward to help.
She's not just taken away my dad, but she's basically taken away soul from us as well. I mean, it's not just one person. It's a whole family that's been affected by this. This is...
Nilofer Syed stunned and shaken. Her father, Syed Hussain, a taxi driver in Mumbai, one of those killed in the Audi accident, in which lawyer Janvi Gadkar was allegedly driving drunk. The only child, her father struggled to make ends meet but ensured Nilofer got a proper education. Earning 2 master's degrees, she then moved to the UK after marriage. Even as her father, a proud taxi driver, continued toiling.
इन्होंने अपनी बेटी को एजुकेशन दिया, दुबई जाके बहुत मेहनत करके गाड़ियां चला के बच्चों को पाला, पढ़ाया.
Nilofer says in his 30 years he never had an accident, something which other taxi drivers also swear.
Whenever somebody comes here, stop him. That don't you come wrong way. This is not safe for your life. Your family is waiting for you. I lost my brother.
Also in the taxi, the Sabuwalas returning home after celebrating 16-year-old Numan's SSC results. And despite the horrific crash, initially no one came forward to help.
बहुत कम लोग जो आगे आके बात हेल्प कर रहे थे. इंसानियत तो मुंबई में बची नहीं.
Police sources claim Janvi drank whiskey instead of beer to celebrate a new project and was so drunk she narrowly missed 2 motorists. Nilofer Syed says she will make sure that she gets justice for her father's death, adding that she will track the case from the United Kingdom to ensure that the drunk driver does not get away. Meanwhile, for the police, the task is cut out. Build a foolproof, watertight case that stands the scrutiny of law to ensure the strictest punishment. In Mumbai, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Well, it's unfortunate that we have to talk about this again, in eerie similarity to high-profile drunk driving cases that we've seen, particularly in Mumbai in the past. The question is whether there needs to be something that needs to be done to ensure that those who are behind this are punished, and why is it that it takes so long to get the law to change? There's a road safety bill that's still pending with the government of India more than 1 year after they had proposed changes, and even in that, many aspects of the law on drunk driving have been diluted. We have Nilofer Syed joining us on the program tonight from Mumbai. She lost her father in that terrible incident in Mumbai. Nilofer, first of all, I'm very, very sorry for your loss, and I would like to thank you for being courageous enough to come out and speak on what is obviously a very difficult time for you and your family. Nilofer, what do you know? What were you told about what exactly happened by the police that night?
To be honest, I don't think any of the police officers turned up until I think today. And we were only told by, my mom was actually informed by 2 random people who just came and knocked at the door because she was waiting for my dad, because she spoke to him an hour ago before the incident actually happened. But some random people actually turned up and said that, he's been taken into hospital, there's been an accident and mom needs to come with us. And that's all we had initially, and all I had was a text message from my relative on WhatsApp to say that dad's had an accident and he's been taken into hospital. And a few minutes later I found out that he wasn't with us anymore.
Nilofer, you seem to suggest that it wasn't really until today that the police really came and spoke to your family. Are you saying that you believe that because of the media focus on this story that they're now kind of waking up to the seriousness of this case? Is that what you're alleging?
I mean, I've seen the reports, I've seen the news today itself, and it seems like the police were on the ball, even though they might not have come to speak to us. But I think they got her to confess. They got her, they got the CCTV footage, and this is what I've heard from the news, from different news that I'm listening to today. And they've got the information from the standbys and everyone as well. So I think they've done their bit, but I would like to thank the media. I would really want to thank, and I would want to use this platform to thank everyone that's been there and given me the chance to actually speak about this and share our feelings of what we are actually going through. I really want to thank the media for giving us this and helping us out.
Nilofer, you know, your story and your family story is, you know, at one level incredible, because your father and your parents basically, you know, wanted to make sure that you got a good education and you went off,
Absolutely.
you know, to the UK, and your father did so much for you. You are a young educated woman, and when you see another educated woman, a lawyer, you know, getting into a car when she's drunk, what is the thought that crosses your mind? What are people thinking when they get behind the wheel, when they're drunk?
It breaks my heart, honestly, it breaks my heart. I mean, this is pure ignorance, and someone who's a lawyer, who's educated, doing something like that, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it fills me with hatred and frustrations and anger, and you know, I can't even start saying as to, you know, what was she thinking, because she knew, being a lawyer, she knew what would be the consequences. She knew that she's drunk, she knew that she was on the wrong side of the lane, she knew what is the consequences if she gets caught. Even then she did that. So I think it shouldn't be classed as an accident. It should be classed as a murder, because I've been saying this, that, you know, if someone wants to kill someone with a knife or a gun, that's a murder. But if someone kills someone with a car, that's an accident. No, accident only happens when it's done by mistake. This wasn't a mistake. This was done deliberately. She drunk. She accepted that she was drunk, and she was driving on the wrong side of the lane. If she can remember all this, she absolutely knows what she was doing. So I have no sympathy with her whatsoever.
All right, Nilofer, stay with us. I'll give you, I'll give you a chance to also collect your thoughts, and I know it's difficult for you to, you know, even come out and talk about all of this again. I just want to go across to the rest of the panel this evening. We've got Dushyant Dave, Shaina NC, Maxwell Pereira, and Shobha Day with us tonight. And I want to ask Dushyant Dave first. Dushyant Dave, why are we here having this conversation again? We should have been talking about a new road safety bill that would have actually, initially, as per the bill, made it, you know, much tougher for people to get away with drunk driving, much bigger fines, there would have been a bigger jail term. But as per the latest version of the bill, it's, you know, 6 months in jail and a 10,000 rupee fine. It's been diluted. Why are we still having this conversation, Dushyant Dave?
It's very simple. It's because the whole society has become extremely insensitive to the loss of people, you know, and the justice delivery system is disgustingly, you know, I would say insensitive to all these issues, as we have seen in Salman Khan's case. The police does not care. Nobody really bothers. You don't need tougher laws. The existing laws implementation, if properly done, can really send a very powerful message. Today there is no deterrence in the society. If there is no deterrence, these people who have money, who are powerful, they know that they can get away with murder. So you will now find soon that the blood samples have changed. There was no alcohol. You will now find that witnesses somehow crop up. Somebody else will perhaps stand up in court, as in Salman's case, and say that I was driving the car. And unfortunately, I regretfully say that the Bombay High Court, the way it did it in 2 hours granting interim bail in Salman's case, is a clear message to the country that, look, you can do whatever you want to do. The High Court and the superior courts are there to protect you. Now this has to stop unless and until the judges start acting, and they have a responsibility, they have a duty. And unless these judges really realize what people's pain is, what people's agony is, I really wish sometimes when I see these judges behaving like this, that God forbid, something should happen in their own families. These judges will really realize that there is something very serious to lose the father, like Nilofer's father. It is impossible for her to get a compensation in life. So the whole society, to my mind, has become insensitive. We have to sensitize the society, the police, the judges, and the lawyers also. So I think things have to change fundamentally in our approach, not in the law.
you make an excellent point about the way the judiciary has handled this. I want to also, though, Shobha Day, talk about, you know, what I was asking Nilofer. When an educated young woman, 35 years old, she's a lawyer, she's, you know, obviously, you know, had a decent education, she works for a big company like Reliance, she gets behind the wheel drunk. I mean, Nilofer's right. She knows that what she's doing is taking a risk by getting in, you know, behind the wheel, and yet people do it. Why? Because we think that we'll get away with it, that this is not going to happen to us.
Well, first of all, I'd really want to reach out to Nilofer and her family, and I understand her anguish. We all understand that anguish. I cannot imagine what they must be going through, and every right-thinking person, not just in Mumbai but across India, is behind Nilofer and Noman and their family, and I'm sure that with enough voices raised, justice will be delivered in this case. It's too high profile and there are too many elements here. It's a story not just about a woman who's drunk and behind the wheels of a very powerful car. It's a story about a city that's lost its conscience, that has lost its humanity, its insaniyat, as Noman put it so very well. I don't think even 10 years ago, the people of the city would have reacted with such indifference and with such a sense of callousness and cruelty. There were people, I believe, who were taking pictures. Nobody bothered to come to their assistance. Nobody bothered to put them into a cab, a passing cab, and take them to hospital. They didn't behave like responsible citizens. There is something happening which is terrifying. Why did this educated woman do it? Did she know what she was doing? No, she didn't know what she was doing. She was probably completely trashed out of her skull. She herself has admitted that she was at Marine Drive long after she'd finished drinking with her colleagues in a hotel. And what was she doing for an hour and a half and 2 hours in Marine Drive? Was she merely chatting? Were they topping up their drinks? Clearly, she was. Her mind was completely. There was no rational thinking left. There was no sense of responsibility left. It was a reckless decision. She even told her colleague, don't worry about me, I've done this before. I'm going to go back and I'll call you as soon as I get home. So she's not a first-time offender. She knew what she was doing this time. She just went too far. So, I mean, it's time. It's a wake-up call, not just for the family of Nilofer, the affected family, not just for the person who was behind the wheel, but for the city of Mumbai. This can happen with Janvi, it can happen to anybody. Drunken driving has killed far too many people, not just in Mumbai, across India. And it's time the police, every single one of us, took cognizance of this very, very serious social condition that is gripping our cities.
I just want to get Maxwell Pereira into this, because Mr. Pereira, we have the statistics, okay? We have the statistics on screen about how many people drunk driving kills every year, how there are more people than anywhere in the world who die because of India's unsafe roads. And is it true, I want to ask you this, is it true that the police are often reluctant to conduct alcohol or these breathalyzer tests on women drivers? Because there was an article in one of the newspapers today that often the police are reluctant because, you know, A, they don't have a lot of women in the force who might be out at night in particular to conduct these kind of tests, and the male police officers or policemen feel uncomfortable, they don't want a problem, quote unquote, as it were, and don't necessarily always check women drivers. Is that the case, Mr. Pereira?
Yes and no. Plain and simple. Thing is that the law requires the police to, at least during investigation, to speak of the level of alcohol content in your bloodstream. Technically, the law requires you to take the person to the hospital and get the emergency officer there to, you know, measure the alcohol content and give the percentage. And normally the person at the hospital emergency has no means of doing that. He can only refer the blood sample to the lab and then get the percentage. So what they do is they declare out of sheer visual examination and you know, the smell of breath, they'll just come up and say under the influence of liquor or not. That's the basic initial report in an MLC. But coming back to the point about women drivers or other drivers, it is unfortunate that drunken driving doesn't get the level of attention that needs to be there. Bombay has done well, so have many cities in the country have done well in this city. Delhi, there is a fear of God. Gurgaon, there is a fear of God, you know, for drivers. There is the concept of designated driving or designated driver coming in, you know, but not as required, not to the standard as required. You know, this is a simple thing. If people can just know that keep another person to drive your car if you are taking a drink. It's a simple thing. Nobody says don't have a drink, but definitely don't drive if you have had a drink.
Be responsible,
now,
yeah. Be
these are
responsible
little attitudes. Be
I
responsible
think
on this.
The law needs
and
to
lots
set an
of
example,
people have started.
honestly.
Sorry,
Now,
I think the law needs to have set an example for this.
No, and I just want to come to that, Mr. Pereira. Sorry to interrupt you there. I want to get Shaina in on that, because Shaina, you know, the BJP lost one of its most important, most senior figures to a road accident, Mr. Gopinath Munde. Soon after that, Mr. Gadkari said that there would be this new road safety bill that would come literally within a month. And since then, we've waited a year. That road safety bill isn't there. Not only that, we've seen the provisions on drunk driving and on other accidents actually being diluted. The fine has been drastically reduced. What was earlier proposed to be a 3-year jail sentence has also been drastically reduced. There seems to be a sense that the government isn't serious about this road safety bill. I mean, at the end of the day, this is an issue that just doesn't get the kind of attention it deserves. Shaina.
You're absolutely right, Nidhi, because we've discussed this road safety security bill multiple times, and Mr. Nitin Gadkari himself has also said that yes, there is a draft which has been created and he is going to come out with it at the earliest. I'm not going to duck the question, because the fact is, in Mumbai, in 2014, if you saw, if we had close to 4,300 cases of drunk driving, in this year itself, in 2015, we've had about 3,800 cases. So yes, this is a growing kind of trend which is not at all welcome, and which is not something that we would want to subscribe to in any way. The guilty must be punished. There's no question there. But I just want to say, for Niloufar, when you know, she speaks and speaks her heart out, and I completely can believe every sentiment of hers, because any girl would want to feel this way for a family that is completely lost for reasons which are so random. And in this case, you have a 35-year-old professional who knows the law. So that's the irony of the case, that if you have such questions, it also raises a larger question, Nidhi, that is our professional, young professional, irrespective of boy or girl, so pressured that they consume alcohol like this, treat life so rashly. This is another area which needs to be highlighted. As we talk about the bystander, why was the bystander not participative? Is there not a legal responsibility, a moral responsibility? It brings you back to lots of cases in Mumbai where you have bystanders who lose their lives, people like Keenan and Rubin, and still justice is not given after so many years. So yes, there are systematic failures. We need to address all of that. But at the same time, I think it's a worrying syndrome to have professionals in the city of Mumbai who understand the law, who know the law, and still treat lives in such a rash way. I was reading an article today which said that she consumed close to 6.
No, Dilip Tahil, you know, consume the alcohol. You have a right to drink, all right? But, you know, you also have a responsibility that you don't get behind the wheel of a car. And you're a lawyer. How stupid can you be to get behind the wheel of a car in that state? I mean, for me, what's scary is that if that a person like Jahanvi doesn't get it and still was irresponsible about it, then I don't know, you know, what to say, Dilip Tahil.
Well, let me tell you first, once again, this really angers me, you know, because here you have a reckless person who has failed in her responsibility. But look at the other end of it. I mean, she has absolutely devastated an entire family. I mean, innocent people coming back from a celebration have the entire lives have been shattered. And here's a professional who had all the choices. She goes out and plans a night where she's going to have a drink. By all means do that. There are professional drivers in Bombay who are there for the specific purpose to drive you back home if you have a drinking night. She did not exercise that option. I don't know what she does. She goes and sits behind the wheel after as many drinks as she had and has caused utter devastation to a family. I mean, this is what really, really angers me. And I think socially we need to wake up that if we have amongst us a so-called friend of ours who is inebriated, who has had a drink and is getting behind the wheel, I think it's all our responsibility to advise that person, call the party drivers for God's sake, and tell them to take the car, or actually phone the police, as is done in other countries where you cannot accept your friend or anybody getting behind the wheel after drinking. Because it's not just them. They're going to devastate people's lives as we've seen here. And in this case, it's just the worst possible thing that could happen. And I mean, you're talking about a professional, but I mean, I don't know what sort of a professional she is. I mean, this is completely, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm stumped for words, honestly. This is absolutely so irresponsible.